So we are discussing dynasties, we're discussing arts, and we're discussing the sciences. So the first question that arises is how old is India? And some people will say it's 5,000 years old. Some people will say it's born in 1947. Some people will say it's 1 crore years old, whatever. So we have to go by evidence. Now, the thing is that 1,000 years ago, our great universities were all destroyed by the Turkic occupiers of India. And with these universities, all the great libraries were burned down. With the burning of the libraries, we lost all our knowledge, all our written records of our knowledge. They accuse us, Indians, of being an ahistorical people. You transmit knowledge orally. Your historical records are all oral records. Well, the library at Nalanda burned for several months. There was not oral records. Those were written records of history and of science and all that. So because we have lost the written records of our history to a large extent, we have to rely on other evidence to find out how old our civilization is. So one of the oldest material evidences or archaeological evidences of Indian civilization lies under the ocean, the Gulf of Khambat region, which is of the western coast of India near Gujarat. Uh, of the Gulf of Khambat, at a depth of about 30 to 40 meters below the ocean surface, there is an archaeological site. It's not one archaeological site, it's a complex of archaeological sites, a complex of multiple cities that lie submerged under the ocean. And these were discovered about 30 or so years ago. And for some reason, after the initial discovery, not much work has been done. What we know is that these cities are laid out in a grid structure, very much like the great cities in the mature phase of the Saraswati Sindhu phase of Indian history. Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Rakhigarhi, all that. So the last time this part of the country was above the water was about 9,000 years ago because of the ice ages waning. So these great cities would have taken time to build. So they are at least 10,000 years old. And when you build a city properly according to a grid system, it means you have some understanding of architecture, of town planning, which involves some science. So that tells you that our science is extremely old. And the cities we were building 10,000 years ago were very much similar to the great cities of these later Saraswati Sindhu era of our history. So that tells us how old Indian history is from this piece of evidence. At least 10,000 years old. That's what the archaeological evidence tells us, right? And uh, they have done carbon dating of some pieces of wood and all that. That also goes back at least 8,000 years. So that is the first piece of evidence I can offer you of how old India is. And obviously there was some understanding of science at that time. Now, if we go a few millennia forward, we come to the great Saraswati Sindhu cities. And if you look at the Saraswati Sindhu era cities, which is Rakhigarhi, Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Kalibangan, Lothal, and various harbors and all that, you see evidence of the most sophisticated technology of its time. Technology is a symptom of scientific advancement. You can't have high technology without understanding science to a very good extent. So what we see is that there is standardization of weights and measures, very precise standardization of weights and measures all across the geography of the Saraswati Sindhu region, which is a geography that is larger in size than Egypt and Mesopotamia put together, right? It stretches from northern Afghanistan to all the way to northern Maharashtra, from Balochistan and Oman up to Madhya Pradesh. It's enormous. And everywhere you find weights and measures, it's the same standards.